So the Rams offense is 22 points per game, 14th in the league. 354 yards per game is ninth in the league. So they could, so maybe some red zone issues, but they can put up yards. 110 rushing yards per game, 17th in the league, and then 245 yards passing a game, 8th in the league. So Matthew Stafford's 8th in the league, passing the ball. He has over 2,000 yards, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 19 sacks. He gets hit, and he stands in the pocket. They run a lot of deep crossers, a lot of things that take a long time to develop. The big issue for me right now is for them is at running back. And this guy's averaging. Kyren Williams goes down. He goes on IR. He might be coming back soon, but he won't be coming back this week. Royce Freeman's been playing. He's averaging 5.3 yards per carry on only 21 carries, but he misses holes like you will not believe. And so if he just figures it out, like they can move some humans, and they do it out of 11 personnel, which is kind of nuts. Like we talked about, Puka Nacua is leading their team right now. 61 catches, 795 yards, 2 touchdowns, Tutu Atwell, 47, 361, and 3. And then Cooper Kupp, 21, 30, 16, and 1. They're all back playing together. They play well. I would say this team's super interesting to watch because they run almost exclusively out of 11, which means these wide receivers get in and get dirty. I'll show some tape. They block. They run a lot out of close formations because of it, because they're running 11 personnel. They got to get those wide receivers in to dig out safeties. Our safeties have opportunities to make plays in the box. And I really think that their offensive line does a pretty good job at double teams on zone blocks. And then they utilize these wide receivers as backside guys. The split flow stuff, you'll see tight ends. You'll see Cooper Kupp do it. It's nuts. Okay, they're very, very average up front on pass pro. That should be, especially if no Bloom plays over Rashawn Gary, it's an opportunity for us to get home. Dallas made some plays on him. Certainly, they've obviously got a really revered pass rush, but I think we have some players up front that can win as well. Tons of deep crossers, tons of dig routes. You do have an opportunity to affect the throw. These two guys, all three of these guys, Atwell included, they're really good route runners. I mean, they really know how to separate at the edges, separate on the breaks. I think something that we struggle with is the separation that is created on the turns, right? We play a lot of soft zone. Guys aren't comfortable being manned up. And when you start running to that stuff on an either soft zone or man, like you create separation on turn. These guys do it at an extremely high level. The screen game for these guys has been great. They're running this play, which is an old X shallow cross screen left. So you look at Kupp up top. They're going to follow him across with the linebacker. And this is basically turns into they bring the slot. They follow him across with the linebacker, and now all of a sudden it's just all you can eat. All he has to do is beat one guy, makes a great play, gets yards on the zone drop. Then they run it again here off the under center play action pass. And this is what we were talking about last week with, I think this was with Nixon. If you don't go over there and try to blow this thing up right now, there's no reason to delay. You got 700 pounds of anger coming at you. Like, you're not making this play. And they get down and you see this like a 40-yard gain. So this is something you got to be aware of from the Green Bay Packers standpoint. They're going to try, especially if Rippon's in the game, they're going to try to utilize the talents at the running back position, maybe more out of the backfield. Talking about Royce Freeman in the screen game and get those big guys out front and move. And what we're talking about from just being able to hit a hole, man, it takes a village, right? We talk about this with the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love, it's tough to evaluate him because there's so many mistakes being made other places, right? That's partially true, obviously, because there is 11 people you can only control what you can control. And to that point, look at the lane here that is just absolutely whiffed on by this guy. There's holes in the defense that he just did not see. And this happens multiple times during the game. So if this guy can just straighten himself out a little bit, you're probably thinking to yourself, like, they got a chance to run the ball. They're running over 100 yards a game now, but they could, this is a 150-yard ground game easy in this game if he follows his blocks. These double teams are good. Steve Avila, the left guard, rookie, big body. I mean, those guys are both 5 yards driven off the line of scrimmage. That's just big time. You look over on the right side of the screen here, you got 4 dudes 5 yards off the line of scrimmage. That's winning football. This running back's got to do better for them, certainly. You just see the in cuts and crossers all day long. The thing that happens a lot with this team, Cooper Kupp gets mad respect. So he's going to get bracketed. He's going to get doubled. People are going to follow him with either with their eyes or with their feet. And that just leaves opportunities for these kind of longer developing plays. They're going to follow him across. And it's like, this is a very easy read for the quarterback. If you're going to follow my guy across, well, I got a double crosser going. I'm just going to hit it the other guy. And they did this all day long. And they do this every week, especially now that they have Cooper Kupp back. They're running out of it, out of a 2-by-2 look here. They go play action with the guard pull, which, as you know, is one of my favorite things to see. And they're running 2 guys deep on single safety. As soon as that safety declares where he's going, he turns his back. We go to the underneath player. I mean, whether he makes the play or not there, you just see the opportunities abound. And we've had those issues really. You just always go back, starting with Minnesota last season, of running the up and unders and how that is a problem sometimes with the soft zone defense that we tend to play. They run a switch release here, and this is just kind of scheme stuff, but if you want to take advantage of a soft zone, you just run this switch release. Now, these 2 DBs have to decipher who's going where, who's got who, and you're creating that natural separation for these like quick outs. Okay? Like there's no way, just based on his alignment, that he's ever going to be able to make that play. If I back the play up, if I can back the play up. All right, if I back the play up here, you can't run the quick out from the NFL logo, right? And this is why teams do what they do. So you motion in, softens up that zone defender, and now all of a sudden you've given yourself the exact same look, but you're 10 yards further in, easy quick out, switch release. And Stafford will take what he can get. He's not one of these guys. He's not going to be a greedy guy. Well, and especially Rippon's not going to be a greedy guy. They're going to run these. They're going to call those plays, run them effectively. Now, if they don't do it, this is what happens. This is, they don't go into motion, or if you play press coverage on the top of this, just like we talked about the bunch release last week, if you play a little bit tougher with the release on the first guy, now all of a sudden that second guy's got some more options because the route has been impeded. And when that happens, and you see Stafford gets a little greedy over here because he has the in cut on the tight end. I think that's on Parsons, wide open. Makes the mistake, goes pick 6. Okay, so it's just how you want to play that look. If they're going to line up in it and you can press coverage and you can get a little bit in the first guy's face so they can't run the underneath stuff, because they're going to want to switch release out of that, and they're really good at it. But if you slow down the first release, now you got the opportunity as that second zone player, that deeper DB, to be able to break on the ball. Like I said, they run out of 11. Their guys inside will do dirty work. Tyler Higbee's in there at the tight end position. They'll run a lot of split flow with him. You see it here. Cooper's going to get involved. I just think, again, they do a pretty good job identifying. I think Micah Parsons was coming down in the A gap here. I think this offensive line is, I've always thought the offensive line for the Rams was not very good. This year is, I really like what I see from the interior, at least in the run game. Like the footwork, like the body position, everything. Small sample size, I'll grant you. See Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp both. I circled one of them, but they're both going to they're getting involved. The point is here, you got a lot of guys that are trying to pay like Allen Lazard did for us. Okay, I'm not saying they're as good as Allen Lazard. What I'm saying is everyone, because they're always running out of 11, they get in close formations and they try to dig those safeties out and they just put time in. They don't always make the play, but they're always trying to put time in down here. Lets them stay in the formations that they want to stay in. You see Kupp is actually the split flow player here. Comes back on the backside defensive end. Or linebacker, excuse me. Formation tendencies. We just showed some of this, but the point is they'll have to run out of close. because they got to dig out those safeties. I think you see it here. 6 comes down in the box, and you got to run out of close here because your receiver is diving for him. Has got to get in there. It's almost, and a lot of things happen when you're down 33-0. So I'm not going back and watching too much tape on these guys. But they're probably going to, at some point, you just got to run your offense. Like, you don't have a play sheet for 33-0. So you're running the stuff that's in the game, right? Against and game plan against who you got. So if you bring down safeties in this game, fire your gun, trust your eyes and fire your gun, because these guys are coming for you and they do put work in. When they spread out, right, it's more likely than not, it's going to be a pass. In other words, the run formations as you go through this tape are pretty evident. They're not doing a lot of fooling you. They're just trying to keep the same personnel so they can run at their pace. You see Puka Nacua's in here, split flow, leading on the backside with this tight end. So he helps Higbee dig out that C gap and create a lane for the running back. I mean, these guys are just, I love it. I love that you got running backs that are willing to put in dirty work. It's fantastic. So they got bunch formation, and they did this a couple times, basically to a 3-by-1 side, to a trip side, whether it was bunch, whether it was just trips. And they do some pin and pull stuff, and they're pretty effective with it. I thought their left tackle did a good job of getting around, and those receivers they put in work in the run game, man. It's impressive. You have to be able to deal with physical receivers if you want to play against the Rams. You see out of trips, they're just going to run another pin and pull. Kupp gets up on Micah Parsons and does a good job. They get a 12-yard gain. You got a 2-by-2 look. Same thing here. They create separation. Look how he comes down the line of scrimmage. This is a 20-yard dig route. So there's a lot of time to get to the quarterback on a 20-yard dig route, but you see the separation that he creates. So they occupy the middle safety, and they immediately with the deep corner, and that guy stays on his line across the middle. They got a 4 receiver set. They chip out with the back, and what we're going to look at is the inside. Well, I guess the second from the left receiver, Kupp here, because they're going to bracket him. They're going to follow him with 2 guys, and Higbee comes behind him, or the backup tight end, and just follows the leader. If the safety is going to bracket Kupp all the way across the field and turn the backside safety into a single high look, then just follow the leader here, catch the ball following literally in the same footsteps as the safety, walk in for the touchdown.